true Black power. And so I'm even as I'm teaching you guys these things, I'm going through it over and over and over again with a fine tooth comb because as you know, I've been a Black man my whole life now, and I kind of want to win. I want our people to win. I want us to get ahead, and so the stronger I'm able to develop models, just with what we're doing in the Black Business School and other things, the better we're able to execute on our vision, right? So, like my friend, was it my friend Yolanda Spivey? She's so funny. She was on Fly Nubian Money, and she just yelled. She goes, "We all slaves up in this bitch." And so I thought that was funny, right? So because she's right, we're all kind of. I don't think we're all slaves, but I do think that we're all in the struggle, right? And so all of us being in the struggle means that we want to figure out how to overcome that. I don't. In fact, I really feel that sometimes there are people that really want us to stay in the struggle. I think that there are people um, that really benefit and enjoy watching us feel helpless, right? And the more helpless you feel, the more empowered they are because they can present themselves as the superhero. It's like, and this is capitalism 101, in case you don't know, capitalism does that. Like capitalism will sell you the thing that makes you sick and then sell you the thing that helps you heal from the sickness. And then they won't really heal you. They help you to kind of manage the illness, right? So it's like the healthcare system. And think about when you go to the grocery store, they'll sell you the fat, sugary donuts at the front of the grocery store, and then they'll sell you diabetes medication in the back. And it'll be kind of like this poor baby kind of thing, like, oh, you poor little Negro, you're too stupid to know how to take care of your own health. So without what would you do without us to protect you from your ignorant self? And I just think that is it's that's the dark side of capitalism. So consciousness is a really important aspect of capitalism because if you don't understand how to be conscientious about how you engage with the capitalist system, it will eat you up, it'll chew you up, it'll take everything you got. And now somebody says there's no sound. Are you able to hear me? Okay, let me know. Give me a yes. Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? Okay, am I there? Okay, somebody said there's no sound. Maybe somebody can type to them and say yes, there is sound. Just turn your volume up. So all right, so don't forget this week we're doing the financial slumber party Friday night at 11. So if you want to join us and have fun, we'll get in a private Zoom. We're gonna play some music. I should get music requests from you guys. Like maybe we'll play some Michael Jackson and stuff and learn some finance. And we're gonna do stock options. So if you always wanted to learn how I generate income from stock options, I will show you, take you step by step, tell you where I'm making my money because I want everybody in here to have more money. That's the goal. I want you to have more money. Like that's to me, that's a measuring stick. If you have more money, then I've done part of my job. And because I'm not here to give you a feel good speech. I mean, you can feel good after you get the money. Money will make you feel better, right? So anyway, with that being said, so part of the quest, as we've been working so far, is we've been doing our Powernomics training. We decided to go in a different direction where I'm using Powernomics. We're using slides now to break down the an empire of their own, how the Jews invented Hollywood. And what I really think is really important is that if you want to have more money and more wealth, in fact, give me a guess. How many of you, let's be intentional, let's be conscious. How many of you B1 folks in here want your children to have more wealth, income, financial security? Give me a yes if you want more financial security for yourself. Give me a yes if you understand why that matters. Give me a yes if you understand all the different ways that's going to impact your life. Give me a yes if you understand the connection between financial freedom and freedom. Financial freedom, it's hard to have freedom without financial freedom, right? You can't be a free American and also be a financial slave. How sway? How does that work? Make it make sense. How in the hell are you gonna be a free person? Like I know my rights. I'm free. Well, no, you're not, because you're in debt. And debt is a form of slavery if you allow it to go too far. Um, oh, I want to be free. I do what I want. No, no, you don't, because you got to go to work tomorrow, and you don't even want to go to work. You want to spend time with your kids. You want to take a nap. You want to go to the spa. You want to go on a trip, but you can't. You got to go to work. So you're not free. Stop talking about free. Stop defining freedom inappropriately because you think that you were freed after Juneteenth, right? We celebrate that every year, but as you know about Juneteenth, they didn't give them any of the tools for freedom. Freedom must be defended. Freedom is an asset, and assets have to be managed appropriately. You have to be have the capability, the knowledge, know-how, skill set, and tools to utilize that asset. Let me give you an example. If I gave you a factory right now, and I said, this factory makes automobiles. It's worth $1 billion. Now you're a billionaire. Congratulations. But then, so you'd be happy, right? Like, oh my God, look, Lord Jesus, we're rich now. Okay, good for you. All right. So first thing you need to know is to even turn on the lights in the factory, you need to go raise $500 million to just turn the freaking lights on. How many of you could do that? Would you be able to go to the bank and get a loan for $1 billion to make it happen? Maybe you could, maybe you couldn't. A lot of people wouldn't know what to do, right? The factory would just sit there and it would just rust. And then let's say, oh yeah, by the way, this factory, you have to have advanced know-how. You and your team, you have to have a team of people that have advanced knowledge and understanding on how to manufacture automobiles, in the factory. So once you get the $500 million to get things going, you have to build the team and run and develop the organizational structure required for you to be able to pull the cars off the assembly line, right? Uh, would you know how to do that? How would you feel? Like, would that stress you out a little bit? And just say, oh man, well, wait a minute. Okay, this isn't working right now. Oh. And then after you raise $500 million, build a team, figure out how to manufacture the cars. Oh, then you got to sell the damn things, right? Then you got to get people to buy them. You got to have a global market. You got to spend $100 million a year on a global marketing strategy that will allow you to even sell the cars. Because if you can present the best car in the world to the consumer, but if they don't want to buy it, then who cares, right? Do y'all follow what I'm saying? Do you understand that as I always say, there's levels to this shit, right? There's levels to it. And so freedom isn't just something that just you get this handed to you. You have to have the tools for freedom and power. These are assets that must be managed. Sometimes you need more assets to manage the assets that you have, to use the assets that you have. I've seen that happen so many times. So just to finish off with the car example, did y'all know Rivian? I did not know this. Rivian, they won an award. I think they won an award for like the best car in America. Did y'all know that? There was some big car show or something where they measure who has the best cars. Rivian won the freaking competition. So if Rivian won the competition, then Rivian should be making money hand over fist. They should be drowning in money, right? No, they're not. They're not. They're like on the verge of bankruptcy. They're barely getting by. So how in the world is that true? How is it that you have the best car in America, but you're not making any money? You're on the verge of bankruptcy. Well, that's because there's levels to this thing. It's complicated. You having the best car is the beginning. And this is something like this makes me think about entertainers. A lot of people really think that their secret to getting rich is to become famous. Like, when I become famous, I'm going to have money. And that means that no one ever taught you business models. Do you know? I know famous people, a lot of them. Some of them are less impressive than others. Some of them are geniuses. Like Wendy Williams, she was a very smart lady. I love and very sweet. I like Wendy so much. She used to treat me so well when I would go to New York and I was on her show and stuff. Um, and let me just tell you, you'd be shocked at how many super famous people that you would know on the street, people that you really are thinking that they're going to walk away from the meeting with you and go hop on a private jet and fly back to LA and do something really important, who are literally struggling. People that are literally barely making it by. People that will come to you and borrow money from you because they're like, "Oh, you think you think that because I'm famous, I must be rich. So what I'm going to do is you'd be amazed how many celebrity scammers there are who actually will use their fame to get you. They'll see you and you'll be like, well, all I got is $70,000 in my account, but to put into the movie, and they'll be like, oh, great, that's exactly what we need to make the film, and I'm going to get my friend so and so, and they'll name drop on you, and they don't tell you that they might have a crack habit. I met the true story. There was a guy I met. You, if I said his name, you would know, but I'm not here to embarrass people like that. And he came to meet with me, and he was kissing my ass the entire time, and he was super famous. And I remember sitting there watching them talk, and his leg kept shaking. And I said, he's tweaking like a crackhead, and he kept on like trying to throw. He kept throwing these. Crackheads don't know that they sound like crackheads. They don't understand. Like they use that that crackhead logic. So he started pitching me stuff that didn't make any sense, and like, oh, it's only $5,000, but the regular price is 80,000. And I was like, wow, you really think that you think I'm as dumb as a crackhead? Because the crack, that's what it does. Crack is whack. When he told you that crack is whack, and but he's a really famous person, so he would do that. He to this day. how he makes his money is he finds regular people, unsuspecting people who think that because he's famous, he must be rich, and they let him in. They open the door, they roll out the red carpet, and they give him. He'll take your little $20,000, $30,000, and he'll make you think he's sitting on millions to the point where it doesn't matter, but actually he's scamming you. Like this happens all the time. So when that lady sang that song, "Where My Scammers At," she got to go to Hollywood. There's a lot of very desperate people in LA who are very, very famous, who maybe did a big movie in the 1990s that everybody knows and you love them, and you assume that their life is wonderful because they're well known, and you don't understand business models. The business model is what makes the fame turn into wealth. Well, sorry. Well, in fact, fame is a type of wealth. Actually, it is a type of wealth, but it's not liquid wealth. It has to be converted into financial resources. Just like that factory I gave you, the factory is certainly wealth. I mean, if I give you $1 billion factory, that's wealth. But you have to have skill sets to manage the asset and convert that into financial resources. Do you understand what I mean? This is why it's extremely important. Everybody who's B1 in here, are everybody black first? Are we B1? I have to remind us, B1 black first. That's what we are. That's black. I'm black all day, twice on Sundays because I'm here for the home team. I will bust down freaking walls for my team. My whole PhD was dedicated to my community and my people and our children because they're supposed to be protected. They're supposed to win. They're supposed to be on top. They ain't supposed to be losers and drowning and barely getting by. No, they're supposed to be on top. So if you are black first in that way, one good way to show your blackness is to say, we're going to make sure our kids understand business models at every level. Should no Jewish kid sit down with your black ass and be able to talk circles around you because he's been thinking about the business model and all you've been thinking about is how you can be famous and how you can sing and dance. No, I mean we sing and dance better than anybody. We play basketball better than anybody. We have a lot of skills and talent, but our greatest skill and talent must be the understanding of wealth and business models, where money comes from, how we make that money, right? So ultimately the reason I wanted to study this book, An Empire of Their Own: How the Jews Invented Hollywood, is because it's really fascinating to see the economic theory behind the thought process of how this group of people, and they were pretty oppressed. I mean, I'm not Jewish, so I didn't really know. And don't get me wrong, we know Zionists have, I got a bone to pick with them. Some of the stuff they do I don't understand, but there's different categories. I remember when I sat with I had one opportunity to sit with Minister Farrakhan for a very long time, 2 hours, just me and him. And I remember he told me that Cornell West had talked to him about, or maybe Cornell told me the story. I can't remember. It was one of the two, and they had a debate about the conversation around Jewish people. And I don't think they're okay. I think that they wouldn't mind me sharing this. And the debate was basically like when you say the Jews, who you talking about? Because they're diverse, just like we're diverse, right? Like when people say, "Well, I don't like what the blacks are doing." Well, the blacks are. I mean, you got all kinds of black people, right? You got the super healthy black people, you got the bougie black people, you got educated, uneducated, you got the niggas, right? Like, I can't take responsibility for what every nigga does, right? So that's there, it's out there, right? And unfortunately, they put the nigga face on the whole black community. They say Trina or Young Miami or whatever, or whoever it is, some gangster rapper represents the black community. We know that that's not true. So we're diverse, just like their community is diverse. And so one thing that they talked about, I think I remember, was that if you talk about, say, Zionists, people that are sort of like Israel, 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 defend Israel at all costs, even if you got to kill everybody, that's not everybody in that community, right? And I think that that's important to understand. So I was really fascinated reading that book, and it's called An Empire of Their Own: How the Jews Invented Hollywood. I was fascinated because I was like, wow, you really did something impressive. Like the way you took whatever situation you were in and you applied business models to really build something that became incredibly powerful, admired by the world, gave you the ability to not just shape your own culture, but to shape everyone's culture, to shape not just your own image, but everybody's image. And I really see this for our community. This is what I see in our future. I see us having that ability. To really become what I almost call it, almost like being an economic god, having that ability to manifest because your consciousness is on such a high dimension and you're able to see, you have a bird's eye view on how economic systems work. But this requires training. You got to get your kids involved in this early, so they're not, because there's a big capitalism's a big chessboard, and some people are playing the board, they're moving the pawns around, and some people are a pawn and don't even know that they're on the board. They don't have the conscience. They don't even know they're in the game. They're in the simulation and can't even identify where the walls of the simulation exist because nobody talked to them about that. So you got to have these conversations with the kids. Get the kids involved in scenarios where so if they go somewhere, right? For example, and I pull out the slides in a minute, but I was just thinking about this. So like if I go and let's say I'm raised to believe like the only way I can have money and is if I get a job and then I do work and somebody pays me for that work. And someone says, "Well, why would they pay you for that work? What did you do to earn that money?" And I say, "Well, because I came to work 8 hours today." That's not a good enough answer. That's not the full answer. Nobody pays you just because you work hard. Nobody pays you just because you put in the time. That's not, I mean, I could put it would probably take me many, many hours to count the number of ceiling tiles in my house. That little holes in the ceiling and tiles, and I could probably count the tiles, and it would take me many hours to do it, but no one's going to pay me to do that. You don't get paid just for working. You get paid because you're adding value, right? We've talked about that value creation versus value capture. And then as that value is being created, someone is capturing that value, and then they're deciding how much of that value they want to compensate you with. So I go work at Taco Bell. They're not paying me for working. They're paying me because I'm making tacos. So they pay me, 10 cents per taco that I make or whatever on average. And I think about Taco Bell because that's where I met my first girlfriend. Yeah, she got pregnant. So like I always warn people, stay away from tacos because tacos will get you pregnant. But anyway, so I will work at Taco Bell. They pay me 10 cents a taco or something. They sell the taco for $2, $3, and they decide, okay, we're gonna give you a dime, and then we're gonna spend some money buying the taco meat and the shells and everything, and then we're gonna make a profit. And that profit goes back to corporate. Corporate puts that money together and they give the bulk of that profit to the shareholders. And the number one goal of the managers of that company is to maximize the wealth of the shareholders. Their goal is not to take care of the workers. Their goal is not even to take care of the customers. They care about the customers only because the customers can help them make more profits. But really their goal is to do the bare minimum for every group except for one, and that group is the shareholders. So this is one of the reasons why the number one thing you can do to be a wealth builder in America is own stock. Because the shareholders are who gets taken care of in this country, and that's just the way it's kind of been like that for a very long time. And in fact, if you look at the racial wealth gap between blacks and whites from a dollar amount has actually gone up in the last 20 or 30 years. The gaps are increasing. They're not decreasing. They're increasing because whites are more likely to invest in the stock market, right? That's the driver of the racial wealth gap. That's also the driver of the gap between the rich and the poor. That's why the 1% are just shooting off like a rocket because they got their money in the stock market. And when inflation hits you upside the head if you're a worker who's just buying things. If you're a consumer and a worker, inflation or you owe debt, inflation's kicking you in your butt. But if you own assets, if you own real estate, you own stocks, stuff like that, then your inflation's actually a booster of your wealth, right? So ultimately understanding these things for kids is really important. I mean, I don't, I kind of will encourage you to really make that a priority because we don't want our children to suffer. Right? If somebody said, Chester the child molester is opening a daycare center down the street, are you going to drop your child off at Chester the child molester's daycare center? Most of us will say, hell no. Right? You do not drop your child off to somebody who's going to assault them, but we do that economically speaking. We do that in the economic system. We drop our kids off. We say, okay, historically, racist white people have hated your guts. America has kicked our people in the butt, and they really don't care if you live or die. So we want you to not just be next to those individuals, but we want you to honor them, and we want you to serve them, and we want you to financially depend on them. That's not logical, and that's very harmful, and it's something I think that has to be confronted very clearly and very honestly if you want to survive and you want to thrive in this system. Okay, so with that being said, by the way, we do have things in the Black Business School if you want your kids to get ready. We have financial flashcards. If you go to financialflashcards.com, you can go take a look at some of our financial flashcards for kids. I think there's like a bundle there. We have flashcards on, flashcards are a great tool for learning early. If they memorize the flashcards, they're going to probably be ahead of most adults when it comes to their wealth level. So one good activity for the summer would be to pick a set of flashcards. It could be the stock market flashcards, real estate flashcards. We have flashcards for crypto, AI, all kinds of stuff, and have them learn the bulk of those terms, like pay them money for that. And then what will happen is just by literally learning the terms in one set, they'll be ahead of most Americans. You'd be amazed. Here's the thing when we're talking about financial literacy and economic intelligence, it's not hard to put children ahead of the curve. And the reason it's not because I'm some sort of a genius or because we're just doing these advanced techniques. It's easy because America keeps people financially stupid on purpose. they keep people financially behind. There are literally basic ideas that you can learn in about 30 seconds that people never learn because they were never exposed to it in school, right? A lot of you, let me know, give me a yes if you went to a school where they never taught you anything about starting a business. They never mentioned the stock market, like the stock market, which is something you happen to accidentally see on the news. You had no idea what was going on, right? You had no idea, right? Did anybody go to school like that, right? Uh, even real estate, even the difference between being a renter and an owner never came up. Like people are like, oh yeah, you get you a job and get you a car and get you an apartment, and then you're doing good. No, you're not doing good. You're walking around with a leaky bucket, and you're gonna spend your life in this sort of weird purgatory where all you're doing, it reminds me of that Greek, remember that old Greek story where the guy had to push the hill to the top of the mountain and then he rolled back down and then he had to go down and push it back up again and then roll back down. It's kind of like that, right? Because think about this. I'm an employee, a consumer, and a renter, right? So I'm getting screwed three times. I'm getting drained. It's like they've injected me with three different needles. One needle is the employee needle where the corporation's sucking my financial blood because they got me working my butt off on this job and they're keeping all the wealth. Then the other needle is like, oh, we want to get a piece of it too. So they jab another needle in my hip, and that's the consumer needle. It's like, no, we want you to get addicted to consumer products. We're gonna have rappers promoting Gucci and Louis Vuitton nonsense and whatever. So you're gonna spend whatever money you get, you're gonna spend on consumer items. So they're draining blood over here, and then the third needle in the back of my neck is from the landlord, right? And he's draining blood for that would be a good. I gotta write that down, because I think that would be a fun episode of generational curses, right? Like literally, that's what I visualize is like because my mind works like that. I literally see that as, and then here's the thing, right? So you got blood being drained, economic blood being drained from your neck, from your side, and from your back. From the landlord, from the corporation that's selling you products, to the boss that's got you coming to work every day. And then think about this. Of course, you're going to be drained, right? Of course, you're going to be weak, right? You're getting blood taken out of you from multiple directions. So of course, you're not going to feel nourished or stronger. Right? So that makes me that's what I visualize when I see people that are like, man, I have been working so hard. I'm literally going to die an early death because especially if you're black, because going to the corporate plantation is so draining, so exhausting. Dealing with like irritating white people all day, just rude, mean weirdos that not that all white people, if you white, don't take offense. But seriously, I don't hate white people. I really don't. But I get mad when y'all hate me for no reason. I didn't do nothing to you. But I have white people that are afraid of me. And I'm like, why? I think I'm a nice guy. I went to the Miss Corporate America pageant. Maybe I sound different, or maybe when I write, I seem different. I sat next to a lady and she literally was like, she said, "You're much nicer in person than you appear online." And I said, "I think I'm a nice person. I'm not I'm not. I don't want to be an asshole. Like I just have passion about what I believe. I don't want to get screwed." So literally, we have a world that's so strange that literally, when a black man says, "I'm tired of getting screwed," people are like, "Oh, he's dangerous. He's a bad person." No, I'm not dangerous. I'm nice. I meet you. I'll give you a hug and buy you some ice cream. Like, but there's a point where I say, enough is enough. Like my grandma used to say, we ain't got time for foolishness. I ain't got time for foolishness. I'm like my grandma. Like really, that's crazy, right? So ultimately, this is what happens here. So what happens is when you understand the business models, when your kids figure out like, okay, this is what's going on. I got a needle in my side, I got a needle in my neck, and one in my back, and they're draining blood. So that's why my blood count is low, and I'm anemic, and I'm tired, and I'm worn out, and everyone else is living fat and happy because they're literally sucking blood out of me. The capitalist vampires are just sucking blood out of me, and they're fat and full. I'm gonna start pulling the needles out. Right? What does that look like? Well, let's go with this analogy. I'm kind of enjoying this. This is kind of fun. I got to write this down. I want to I'm gonna make like a generational curse episode because I think I can just see this, right? So literally, so first thing I do is I pull out the first needle, which is getting out of the corporate plantation. Right. When my kids it's like, no, I'm not injecting that needle in you, son. I'm literally, I need you to be in a position where you don't have to work for anybody. And the biggest challenge you have with that is there's so many black people who truly believe that you can't get through life without working for a white person. I bet you were raised by somebody who probably made you think that way. How many of you have ever heard people say HBCUs are what is it that they are unrealistic because you can't go through life without working for white people or working with white people. Like anybody ever grow up hearing that, or that one day you're gonna have to go work for a white man? Did anybody ever? I heard that. I remember hearing that. I was like, it was like, yeah, you got to understand white people. You got to learn from them, and all this other like. So their idea of playing chess, and I'm not criticizing, but their idea of playing chess was learn how they think so that they will give you that job or they will give you that opportunity. Do you see what I'm saying? Did anybody else grow up in that type of environment? Let me know, right? And that was and that's unfortunate, very defeatist because in my head I pictured them up here and me down here, and that's not you can't really win if I start the basketball game seeing myself as like you're as tall as Wimby and I'm Gary Coleman, then I can't really compete with you. I can't look at you eye to eye. The other thing, other area you can pull is it's so how do you get your kids off the corporate plantation? Well, that's why we've talked extensively about investing for your child from the time that they're born, buying stock for them when they're a baby. You do that consistently, you just like it's a bill, your child will have $250,000 by the time they're 20, 25 years old. They don't have to work for anybody. You unlocked all their access to happiness. They don't have those same broke Negro problems, right? That makes a big difference. That will unlock their creativity. That puts your daughter is living the soft life now. I want all the everybody that wants that free life, soft life, whatever it is that matters for you. I want you to have that, and money helps to accomplish that. What's the next thing? You've got the next needle that you're pulling out of the back. This the consumer needle, right? This is where you have to confront all the nonsense. And again, my grandma, she just turned out foolishness, right? All the foolishness that's happening within hip hop. I talked to D1 today, and I told D1, I said, I'm super proud of you because I saw him on Drake Champs. And he actually confronted some of the holy grails of old people, which was like NWA. And he was saying, we can't glorify people that ruined our culture. And I was like, wow, so you went out to NWA. That's a big killer. Mike's gonna be mad at you. But I love the fact that he's being honest, right? He's really confronting it and just saying all these messages that are being sent to us directly and intentionally have not been healthy, right? They've been very harmful. It's very toxic, and it's leading to an excessive consumer culture. There are lots of young people actually that are in prison because they were trying to steal things they didn't even need. They were trying to steal luxury items. Like, why are you going to prison because you're stealing Louis Vuitton? That don't even make no damn sense. It's like stealing air, like or stealing something that's invisible. Like there's nothing about these brands that's special. They literally manipulated your mind to make you think that that ugly ass outfit with all the little symbols on it is somehow valuable, relevant, makes you into a better human. And it doesn't. Somebody sat in a lab, they sat down with scientists and said, how do we convince people that this ugly ass bag is worth $2,000? And there's a whole science behind it. Sigmund Freud used to be involved with that. Sigmund Freud sat with some marketers years ago and helped them to basically learn how to trick people into buying stuff. So when you're not conscious, you're easily tricked and manipulated and confused and all this other stuff. Next thing you know, some 18-year-olds going to prison for 20 years because they wanted to steal a luxury item, right? I get it if you're stealing food. That's one thing. That's another conversation. But if you're stealing a worthless luxury item, then I kind of feel bad for you, right? So then the third needle that you pull out of the back is the one from the landlord, right? This is where home ownership matters so much. I don't know enough to really talk about every culture in detail, but I keep on going back to my Jamaican friends. All my Jamaican friends have houses in their 20s. I'm stereotyping, of course. It's like Spelman, like, and I'm so proud to be a Morehouse man. I can't wait to go to Morehouse this fall. But anyway, but yeah, but the Spelman women, I don't know a single woman from Spelman who isn't doing something amazing, right? I'm sure the Spelman has some women that are losers or it didn't work out or whatever, but every Spelman woman I meet is usually doing something pretty extraordinary. And I think the same thing is true. Like at almost every Jamaican friend I have buys real estate. So that tells me that it's a cultural thing. And why is that important? Well, because literally that decision to buy real estate instead of being a renter is one of the greatest steps you can take toward being a wealth builder. Most people have their wealth tied up in their home. So, culturally speaking, just repeatedly saying to the kids over and over again, you want to buy property, you want to own property, you want to own property, you want to get your house as soon as you can. And then what you do is you don't just say it though. You help them to learn how to do it and you give them the resources to do it. Right? That's the holy grail. One, I heighten your awareness. I get you to understand what to do and why it's important, right? Like okay, you should own property because that's really important. It's important for your financial stability. You don't want to make the landlord rich. That's a sucker move. Let's not do that, right? So they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't want to make the landlord rich. I want to make my family rich. Okay, great. Now then you say, okay, son, so here's how you do it. Right, here's okay. So you gotta go, and it's like a seven-step process. Okay, first talk to the broker, then you gotta do this, do that. Right, it takes about 10 minutes, and then you go into, oh, by the way, I've also been giving you the weapons that you need to achieve the goal. So I didn't just tell you who you should shoot at and why, and I didn't just show you how to use a gun. I actually got you a gun, son or sweetheart, and with this weapon, which is money in the bank. Now you can execute the plan, right? Now you understand the assignment. You know why you're doing it. You know what you're doing. Now you got the weapons to do it. That's how you create an economic super soldier. You understand? Next thing you know, they're saying, "Hey, Dad, I took $30,000 out of the quarter million that you put in the stock market for me since I was a baby, and I'm gonna go buy me a house." And then next thing you know, they're just paying rent. I have a lot of kids and god kids and stuff, and they call me dad, so they're all my kids in my mind. And one of them, I helped her buy a house. I help all my kids do something big in their life, whatever that is. Like we pick one thing, and I say, okay, I'll finance this, and then I'm gonna see what you do with this. And one of them, she wanted to buy a house, so I helped her get the down payment for the house. And I remember she called me the next year. She said, I can't believe I made $100,000 last year, and I didn't do any work. And I said, yes, that's what capital appreciation looks like. That's what it means to own an appreciating asset. An appreciating asset is like you ever been in the airport and you see those moving sidewalks, right? Where you literally can go like really far and not take any steps, right? That's what capital appreciation is. That's what wealth building is. It should be like being on a moving sidewalk where you're like, I'm getting richer, not because I'm even doing anything different. I'm getting richer just because I own this thing and it keeps going up in price. Right. That's how wealth ends up working. Right. So it's really critically important to make sure the kids understand these things when they're young because it's going to make a big difference. All right. So anyway, one thing I want to mention is this Friday we're doing another financial slumber party. I don't know if I told you about that or not, but if you want to join us on Friday night at 11, we're going to do how to make money without working, but we're also going to have some fun and clown a little bit and play some music and all that stuff. So if you go to financialslumberparty.com, you can actually sign up at financialslumberparty.com. And in addition to that, here's a list of I pulled a list of like quantum computing stocks. I already shared it before, but some of you may have missed it. So here's a list of I'm invested in quantum because I think quantum is the future. And if it works out, then I think that investing now and early and consistently will be an opportunity to be in on the future before it happens. And remember, there's like they talk about three different levels of awareness. They say that there are people who make things happen, people who watch things happen, and then they're the people who look up and say, "What happened?" Right? So obviously, you don't want to be in the third group. The second group, you don't want to sit there watching. Watching is a type of consciousness, but it's not action based. I want you to have all three. I want you to know what happened. I want you to be a part of what happened. I want you to have that manifestation ability to say, yeah, I saw what was happening because I played a part in making it happen, or I was actively engaged with it. So what I'm gonna do is grab this link. My computer's freezing up, but I'll grab the link and I'm gonna put it in the chat, and you guys can like take a look at that list of stocks if you want to. And it's all quantum computing. Just some of I call them Dr. Boyce's quantum superstars because I'm just dramatic like that. But anyway, so feel free to take a look at that. This is not investing advice, as you guys know, but it is me sort of saying like this is some stuff that I'm seeing that I think is going to work. And by the way, as a side note, if you're watching today live on July 8th, one thing is true is that we're entering into a new phase of AI investing. There was a time where AI stocks just made money just because. That era is kind of going away. Like pretty soon, AI stocks are going to be challenged on their profitability, and so if companies are not profitable, investors are not going to reward those companies. So just be mindful of that. Some of these semiconductor stocks and stuff are starting to get hit, and it's going to sort of be a discernment process where investors aren't just going to support every AI company just because. They're going to support companies that are actually able to turn AI into money. So they've been given kind of an incubator period where they've been allowed to make massive investments in AI because there's this hope that one day in the future it will possibly be this amazing thing that's going to make a difference. Now they're like, okay, now it's time to show and prove. It's like you support your it's like those ladies that support your boyfriend's rap career for a while and buy all his studio time. Then eventually you say, okay, it's time to either PP or get off the pot. Either you start making money doing this, or we're going to have to defund defund your venture. So that's where stocks are going. So I'll keep you guys posted on what I see because that stuff's really important. All right. So let me share some slides here because I that was actually what I planned to do in the beginning, but sometimes, as you know, we get on a tangent. And I'm going to, and it's not your fault, it's my fault because I just, my ADHD, you can't blame me. I'm disabled, so don't make fun of disabled people. All right, so here is, we're analyzing this book, An Empire of Their Own, How the Jews Invented Hollywood. And basically, what I want to point your attention to is a slide um, on market disruption. And one of the things that they did that allowed this group to build wealth and to build power within this industry is they just kind of took a market that existed and they just said, let's just change the game. They didn't say, let's play the game better. They didn't say, let's make a better product per se. They said, let's change the business model. And that's really important to understand. Like when you go into business and you're trying to do things, really understanding the business model behind what you're participating in can be essential because if you come up with a more efficient business model, one that scales a little better, one that's a little easier to implement, one that costs a little less, you can make some progress. So for example, one area where I wanted to disrupt the business model was in education. And when we started the Black Business School, I said, isn't it crazy that people are spending $200,000, $300,000 getting an education that doesn't even get them a good job? It doesn't build any wealth. It doesn't put them where they want to be. It gives you other things. I mean, it might, if you're lucky, if you're in the right field, it can get you a decent job. But a lot of you, in fact, give me a yes if you're in this category. A lot of people got their college degree and they would give it back for in a second if it would remove their student loans. Let me know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that like would you give your how many of you are in this room would give your college degree back if it meant your student loans would be erased? Would you do that or would you hold on to the degree? How would you feel? I don't know. I'd be curious to know. I should probably do a poll. But some of you, I bet you there's going to be some yeses in here. How many of you would give your college degree back if it meant the loans would disappear? Okay, I see Kevin said no. Elizabeth said yes. Okay, let me see. Renard says yes. Tanya, yes. Albert said absolutely. Okay. What else? Let's see. Okay, Elhaj says yes. ASAP. Chris Long says no. Okay. Let's see. Andre says I already erased my loan. Good for you. On my own. Good for you. Okay. I see a couple of no's and I see some yeses and no's, right? So Yvette says I would do this first. Okay, yeah. So it's not to say that college degrees are bad, and that's the thing. That's the nuance of it. It's not to say, okay, if you go to college, you're a sucker, you're stupid. I believe in college. Our kids are going to college. I'm gonna do the Morehouse thing, as a favor to my friend. But still, it's like what you're seeing is the difference in terms of ROI. That's what you're seeing. It's a difference in ROI. It's like if you and I both start a business and I go and we go borrow $50,000 and your business makes you 1 million and my business causes me to go bankrupt. And then if you ask us both, like, hey, is it good to borrow money to start a business? I might say no. You might say yes, right? Because you have different outcomes, right? Yes or no, really, in my view, comes down to whether the degree was useful, whether it got you what you needed, right? Everybody had to figure out how to get what they need. Some people got it with their degree. Some people got it in spite of their degree. Some of you are doing things that don't even link to your own degree. And really, if you really break it down and really think about, let me ask you this: why did you go to college? Put it in one sentence if you can. Why did you go to college? What made you go to college? Was it the parties? Was it the girls? Was it the fun? Was it just the love of knowledge? What made you go to for those of you that went to college? What was the driver? What was it? Law degree, okay. Parents, says Elizabeth. Okay, what else? What made you go to college? Somebody put it in the chat. Tell me why. I mean, and I'm looking for a certain answer, the one that I kind of expect. Okay, I was told I went at 40 to change my life. I was told it's the thing to do to advance my education. Thought it would make more money. Money, okay, and I see Albert says money. That's what I believe. I believe a lot of people go to college because it's going to make more money. Don't get me wrong. I mean, knowledge is important, but you can get knowledge in a lot of places. You could have went to the library every day and just sat down and read all the books. You would have got knowledge that way, right? So it can't just be the knowledge. The knowledge matters. Knowledge, that's not the only place you can get knowledge. A lot of people went to college for the reason Yvonne did. They went for a higher income. So the question then to ask really when I'm reflecting on it, me and my wife are college professors, is what if you knew a way to make a higher income that was, let's say, going to be 3 times higher than what you'd make as a college grad, but you didn't have to go to college? Like, what if you just understood wealth? Like, what if you just understood how to make money at an early age? And you said, instead of majoring in biology so I can get a job that pays me money, I'm just going to major in money. I'm going to major in learning how to make money. I mean, that I think that would be a game changer, right? And I'm not saying Albert's using the term game changer. I'm taking his words, but think about, I mean, process that. Like, and I'm not saying everybody's in this category. Some of you went to study biology because you really wanted to be a doctor, and you'd be a doctor even if they were paying you nothing, right? Like, or even if you were independently wealthy. But here's what I really believe, and here's what I've seen. Most people, if you gave them an infinite, in fact, let me do a test. Let me see. I'm curious. If you had $100 million in the bank, would you keep going to work at your job? Yes or no? So for those of you that have a job, if you had $100 million in the bank, would you keep going? Brandy said no. I see no's and nopes. I'm seeing a whole bunch of nopes, right? So clearly, what that's saying, if you look at it and you add 2 plus 2 to make it 4, is that what you're saying is that the job is not the reason that you go to work every day. It's the money. You're not going for the job, you're going for the money. Some of you have a job. Like, I can tell you the truth. I like my job. I mean, I like doing this. This is fun for me. I did it when I was broke and I wasn't making no money doing it, right? So I'm saying that if money is the motive and money is the goal, then why not go straight to the goal? Do you understand? Like, why not just say, okay, I'll never forget that man who the 61-year-old man who said he never had a job. I'm gonna try to find that video because I recorded him in the car, and I asked him. I said, so what do you do? He said, I make money. That's it. That's what he said. Let me see. It was great. Let me see. It was a great video. I think it was 61. Um, he's a 61-year-old man who never had a job. And this is all frozen. It's taking forever. Okay, I'm gonna try to find the video because if I find it, I'm gonna play it because I want you all to see this. Let me see if I can find him. If I might not be able to, but anyway, so what if every black child literally pick a class? Here we go. I found the video. What if every black person um in America, every B1 person, because all black people ain't gonna do it, every person that cares about their community wants to actually succeed, just literally said, I'm gonna make sure my child takes some kind of class called How to Make Money, like, or how to understand business models or where money comes from, right? And think about how many people would say, okay, I make plenty of money now, I don't have to go get all these degrees, I don't have to pretend, right? I don't have to kind of go through this process where someone decides to give me money based on a skill that I have that I'm bringing to their organization and building their company. I just know where the money's at. I go straight to the money, right? And maybe I'm building my own organization in the process. Let me show you this video. This is a great video. I was in the back of the car. I was speaking at the National Black Chamber of Commerce, and I never forgot this man. I was so impressed with him, and I want y'all to hear this. Tell me if you can hear it. Here it goes. I'm gonna play it. 62
I'm
years
62 years
young,
old. I've
and
never had a job. I just go live where there's an economy.
wow.
As consumers, that's what you need if you have a product or service, somebody who can buy it.
So you weren't looking for a check or a job.
Never.
You was looking for a consumer, and
I'm looking for some money.
all right. So and you learned at an early age that you don't need a job to get money.
Well, I saw my dad, who was a strong Leo man, worked at the steel mill. And what happened was they laid everybody off when the Vietnam War went over, and all these men became punks and weak, and the women were taking care of them. And I said to myself, man, I'm not going to give nobody a chance to fire me.
Wow.
And I'm not going to do it because it broke my heart to see my dad, become this. Because all he knew was steel. He didn't know anything. They didn't train him to do anything else. And he died early at 55. I mean, it really.
Oh man.
That's when the wino got started, because all these guys who got laid off would just sit around drinking wine and playing checkers, and you know what I'm saying?
Right. Wow.
And just giving up on life because they didn't know what else to do.
Wow. So for you, being an entrepreneur wasn't just about money; it was about preserving your manhood.
Yeah, man. I'm not a good man. I can't work for nobody.
I love it.
I can't have a boss.
All right, man. I love it.
My kids got something to do. I want to go see it. I don't need to go to nobody to ask for permission.
Right on. So did you feel like the majority of the men have that mindset? Do you think it's the opposite, that the majority?
Well, I think we mess our little men up because we tell them to get a job, we tell them they need to work, and those are slave terms. We need to tell our young kids, you need to make some money.
Mm.
You know, and so their minds will open up and they can start innovating because it's hard to get a job when 10 million people are applying for the same job.
Mm.
And we do these to our kids, man, and these kids almost like, I'd rather go smoke some weed
Wow. Wow.
than try to compete with a bunch of everybody with applications standing in line for 2 or 3 days. You know what I mean? And
Wow.
they could have
Wow.
been using that same time to go out here and wash windows or clean cars. I know a guy at the car wash up here makes $400 a day.
Mm.
He just sits out there. People come consumers who don't want to clean their own car.
Wow.
And he makes about $20 a car, and he's making $400 a day. He don't have no overhead, you know. But you just got to make money so that we can free our mind.
Wow. Wow.
Because work and job are slave words. That's what slaves do.
Mm.
You know what
Mm.
I'm
Wow, man, you preaching. It's funny. Did you catch the speech I gave?
No, I didn't.
That's what's funny. You didn't hear the speech. I was talking about this, but you didn't
But
hear
I
preaching.
know Ron. I'm his personal assistant. So
Oh, okay.
Ron's from Oakland. I'm from Philly. I'm Malcolm X. He's Black Panther. You know, you know what I mean?
Wow,
So we get it.
man.
We're just trying to get everybody else to get it.
Well, you preaching to me, man, and I learned a lot of my manhood from the big brothers like yourself that teach me what manhood really looks like. We
Well,
don't.
if you don't
Okay,
mind me
please.
telling you, I do taxes, and the people who work for all these years, man, by the time they get retired, they're so beat up from working all them years, and they ain't making as much money, and they're like the slave that you said you're free now. You know, and then you tell the retired person you're free now, you ain't gotta work no more. Man, they gotta figure out what to do with 10 hours a day.
Wow, wow, and
That ain't easy.
and no skill in terms of how to make their own
Right,
money.
how to do something else.
Wow,
So then
man.
they end up working at Walmart.
Okay, okay. So, um, I'll tell you what, I'm so inspired by that video. I'm gonna put it back on my Instagram. I love that because that tell me how you felt when you watched that video. I said this is what we need to hear. I think that this idea that being black means you're not allowed to have pride and dignity is wrong. And I think that there's very little pride and dignity that comes from depending on another community to take care of you, right? There's not a lot of dignity in saying my life will get better when they decide to treat me better. There's no pride and dignity in saying I want to sit next to the very same people who mistreated me and then send my children to go beg these people to get what they need. I think that that's humiliating. That's just not. It ain't fair, but it ain't. It's. But we're being unfair to ourselves when we submit to that. And so I felt that. I felt what he was saying about watching strong men and women in your family have to submit to what everybody else thinks you have to do in order to get by. And so I just want you to know there's a different way around this. And in fact, I'm so affected by what I just saw. I'm not even going to do the slides today. I hope that that's okay. I think that it because actually I gotta do something for my wife in a few minutes, so we'll go ahead and finish up early for this week. I hope that this helps you in terms of Powernomics discussion. I know that I plan to hit that book, An Empire of Their Own, How the Jews Invented Hollywood, and all that, and we can do the slide next week. But I feel almost like I wouldn't be able to do justice to it now by covering it now. I'd rather wait until next week because one of the things that was covered in the slide that I was going to show you is that the way the Jewish community was able to build Hollywood was they took a business model that was already there and they just kind of shifted it, right? They went to a different audience. They had a different revenue model. They used something that was much more scalable. And these are things that can be taught to kids. Kids should understand business models. So they should be able to look at something and say, huh, how do they make money? Well, how does that work? How do they, okay, so you got this thing. How do you make money from that? Right? That should be not, and instead of the other question, which is, can I get a job working for you? Do you have any jobs available? Right. And so people like this man that was in the video, I don't have his name in front of me, but individuals like him are really important because these are your teachers. These are the people that in my view, are best equipped to teach us how to get what we want and how to be successful and how to rebuild the community that we want. Wealth and power comes from ownership. And a lot of that, those value systems are embedded in people in our community who remember what life was like before 1968, 1970. I think that after certain policies were shifted, it kind of weakened us, whether you talk about welfare policies or the war on drugs, or you talk about leaning on affirmative action, things like that. Not that those things are bad. I mean, I think that there can be some benefit for sure. But I would say if you go right for the jugular of ownership and you embed that in children at an early age, you make that a consistent core value. You're going to have economically powerful kids that are going to build empires and legacies that will last several hundred years. Okay. So anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this up for today. Just a reminder, don't forget we're going to do the financial slumber party on Friday night at 11. So if you want to join, you can go to financialslumberparty.com. If you're not a member of Money in the Morning class, just go to moneyinthemorning.com. You can sign up there. And also, I should mention as well, we do have a mastermind, the Black Business School. So if you want to join the Winner Circle Mastermind, feel free to go to drboycewin.com. It's for those of you that want a little bit of more up close attention, one-on-one type stuff with me. Feel free, drboycewin.com. So it's not cheap, it's not free though, because time's limited. But if you want to do that and you have more wealth you're trying to work with and stuff like that, or you want to do it as a family, feel free to give that a try. It's drboycewin.com. All right. So have a good day, everybody. God bless you. And I look forward to seeing you soon. In fact, I'll see you all tomorrow morning for Money in the Morning. And the reason I do Money in the Morning every single day is because I believe that if you want to achieve your goal, you have to be obsessed with it. You have to be repetitive. You have to be almost ridiculously, almost like embarrassingly overcommitted to it, to the point where people think you're crazy. I really believe that. I think we got to be crazy about our kids. I'm crazy about Black women and Black men and Black communities. I'm crazy about the Black family. I'm crazy about Black wealth. I'm crazy about not being oppressed. I'm crazy about us succeeding as a community. And that's why I probably sound fanatical. And if I do sound fanatical, it's because I believe that's what's required to win. I remember to build a white supremacist system, they had to be really committed to oppressing you. They were really committed to becoming the wealthiest country on the planet. They were so committed that they were willing to break up our families and kill us and do all these horrible things to us, bring us all the way across the ocean. That took a lot of commitment. So the counter commitment has to be just as strong as the original commitment. You cannot passively work your way toward freedom in this society. 9 times out of 10, you have to make that something that is a core value where you 10 toes deep with it. So you can't go too far. Get your family legacy ready. Your family is the most important institution that you'll ever work for. And I just want to encourage you and let you know that I'm there with you, no matter how deep you're going in this game, because we're not going to lose. All right. So God bless you. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you guys for hanging out. And I will see you all tomorrow morning. Take care, everybody.